Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week here at The Damage Report, dwelling in the morass that is American politics. But we've brought something good with us, and that thing is Francesca Fiorentini. How's it going, Francesca?
What up? Top of the morning to you, governor.
Don't know where that's from, but I'm glad to hear it.
I'm just gonna mix all kinds of hellos.
Just switch accents at random throughout. Very glad to have you here. Feeling pretty good about the state of the world relatively this Monday, but it's always good to come to war with a Francesca. How was your program last night?
Oh, it was so good. We had a Florida representative named Anna Escamani on, and she has her own personal story about Matt Gaetz, in which he and the tax collector, that dude, left a really creepy voicemail for her a couple years ago, and clearly were kind of trying to like butter her up, and it was great. And she's like a just wonderful progressive Democrat in Florida, just fighting the good fight. And so yes, listen to the Bitchuation Room or watch it at Franny Fio, but she was great.
Yeah, man, there must be a lot of stories out there. Look, if you've ever interacted with Matt Gaetz, let me live the dream of feeling like Ken Klippenstein for a few minutes and just leak it to me so that I can spread it. I just want those stories, everybody. But anyway, we had a little update on Matt Gaetz and his 2014 era crusade against sex predators that a couple of years later he suddenly didn't seem to care so much about. It's weird. I don't know why that is. But anyway, you can watch that if it's available on YouTube right now. Very excited to have Francesca here for the full show, in which we're gonna talk about a few things like Elon Musk. We've got Armenian Genocide, Rick Santorum still exists. What's going on with the COVID? And let's see, anti-vaxxers find a way to be worse than possibly ever before. So that's gonna be fun. But then after that, today is Monday after all, so we're gonna be doing, as we always do for our tier 2 and tier 3 YouTube members, a top 10 list. And Francesca's come up with an awesome one today. That is our top 10 problematic faves. So what's sort of the idea behind that?
So some movie or actor or show that is, maybe doesn't hold up to 2021 snuff when it comes to being as anti-racist and feminist as we would like, or maybe they were low-key canceled, high-key canceled, but you still like them, but you don't want to talk about it or tell anyone, you know, problematic faves.
So I had fun putting this together, and mine definitely are on a spectrum of a little bit problematic, but I also have, I think, the person who was canceled more and more effectively than anyone else. So we'll see if she agrees with that. But I believe this person is what all the right wingers say everyone is when they get canceled. But this guy actually was. So anyway, you'll probably be able to figure it out.
Okay.
But we can talk about that.
I like how I bet John's faves are just problematic faves are just gonna be things that nobody else likes. Is that just gonna be like who? Ew. Didn't even do anything wrong.
It's gonna be cool stuff because I'm a cool guy. Anyway, thank you for being here, and thank you all for being here, regardless of where you're at. Very excited to have you here. Feel free to do your part to let more people know about TDR by sharing the stream and liking it as well. And if you want to send us messages as we're doing this, we would love to read and respond to your questions, comments, concerns, and all of that. But with that, Francesca, why don't we launch into a slightly different sort of A block than we're used to on this political commentary show? I'm a fan of SNL, and I know that makes me a bad guy and kind of lame, but I enjoy a laugh from time to time, and I'm not anticipating many of them coming up this next Saturday because SNL has decided to have Elon Musk host. Miley Cyrus will be the musical guest. In better times, that would have been the issue I had with the episode, but now I'm totally cool with the Miley part and kind of dreaming of her entering the stage by riding a big wrecking ball into Elon Musk. But anyway, yeah, Elon Musk is going to be the first person, non-actor or athlete, to host SNL since Donald Trump. And I think we all remember, if you watched that one, how that went. So Francesca, I have many thoughts, lots of people do, but what do you think about Elon Musk hosting SNL?
First of all, I just want to say for the record, Elon, you will never be cool. That's it. Never. Nothing you do, no matter how much weed you smoke, no matter whatever space tank truck you make, you'll never be cool. So just quit, buddy. But just so you know, you'll never be cool. Secondly, I think this is the wrong move. I think it's ridiculous to have the richest man in the world, number one billionaire, suddenly gets to be on SNL. There are many actors, there are many other like performers who should be on before Elon Musk. And look, am I looking forward to the way that they're gonna write him just basically dunking on himself and making, like, I hope there's a whole like submarine situation and a soccer team in Thailand being stuck like that. I am very much looking forward to. But again, this is all kind of like the sort of the mission creep of a billionaire trying to become a celebrity, trying to maybe become a politician because you know it's gonna happen one day. And I don't want to be around for it. You can cast someone to be Elon Musk. I would bet you that many of those many of the people on SNL could do a great Elon Musk. Obviously, Kate McKinnon should do it, but
definitely.
Like, no, just no. I'm going squarely no on this, John.
Yeah, no, well, look, I'm still very much no. Initially, I was to the point of I don't think I'm even going to watch, but I've backed off of that position because the thing is, while I hate seeing them attempt to make a guy who's only known for his incredible wealth cool, and I agree. He's not cool, he's never gonna be any cool. What he needs to understand is he's one of the people that occupies a special territory where you can't just do stuff or accessorize to become cool. You don't have that power. The only power you have is the ability to make things that are considered cool temporarily less cool because they're near you. I think weed becomes lame when it enters your body. Basically, that's what I'm going with here. But Elon Musk is so fundamentally not funny that while they will probably do their best to try to make him lampoon himself, which they tried to do with Donald Trump and didn't work because he can't do that. Elon Musk, I bet, will play ball a bit more, but he's very not funny. And so there's a good chance he's gonna come off looking terrible. And I'm kind of down for that. Also, while I'm not a big Miley Cyrus fan, she really doesn't give an F. So there's a chance that she burns him in some way during one of her performances. And so I'm down to see that too.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. When has he demonstrated a sense of humor? Never.
Lately, on Twitter, you know what he's known for? He just steals people's memes and reposts them. That's all he does. And then pretends that he came up with it. He is so not cool and so try hard.
Very presidential. So like you're a billionaire, calm down, go away, right? Like have the decency to live in the shadows. All right, like do you really want to be under the microscope here? I don't think so.
Go hang out with Grimes or whatever that means. I don't even really know what that is, but go do that.
I feel like she's actually probably really boring. Most people who need to wear like different colored contacts and have neck tattoos and like dye their hair, I'm sorry, all respect to people's self-expression, but generally it means I've got a crap personality. Sorry.
Fired at Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish could be just as talented and look totally normal. She doesn't have to do all that stuff, but listen, it's fine. I'm very much an older millennial / boomer. Come at me.
Exactly. No, it's just he's not cool. Billionaires, not cool. And this is not edgy SNL. And by the way, I know a lot of people are ready to dunk on all of SNL as like one big thing. I don't think many cast members are like, oh, you know what would be cool is to have Elon Musk. I'm sure that this is management. And one of the reasons I think that is we have some reactions from cast members. So let's turn to that right now. Almost as soon as it was announced that Elon Musk, noted non-funny man, would be hosting SNL, a comedy program, people had reactions. Some speculated about what this means for future hosts. So you have Paige saying, F it, OJ. And that little yodeling nerd. I don't even know who the yodeling nerd is, but I like that one. Yeah, just have OJ, why not? I have No, I have more of a problem with OJ than Elon, but like, anyway, Ben Meckler imagines a show that's just Big Spider with musical guest Bigger Spider. That would be spooky, admittedly. Maddie says it's gonna be Mitch McConnell with musical guest the Glee cast, which that hurts me a little bit because I'm a noted Gleek. But anyway, the part I wanted to get to was we have some reactions sort of from members of the cast, including I think some of the funniest members of the cast. So 80 Bryant posted this on Instagram right after it was announced. Now, it's a tweet from Bernie Sanders. It doesn't say anything about Elon Musk, but the tweet is, the 50 wealthiest people in America today own more wealth than the bottom half of our people. Let me repeat that because it is almost too absurd to believe the 50 wealthiest people in this country own more wealth than some 165 million Americans. That is a moral obscenity. So that's not about Elon Musk, but it's kind of about Elon Musk, isn't it? What do you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And once again, like, these are cast members. They understand like their industry is also skewed heavily in favor of people who have, connections, and it's super nepotistic. But this is a perfect example. Like, just because you're a billionaire doesn't get you onto a stage. Like, that doesn't matter. You did not. It literally did, but it should not entitle you to that. My response was like May 15th, Jeff Bezos and a worker singing for their bathroom break.
Oh God.
Perfect, right? I mean, like why not put Bezos on there? Hey, what about Bill Gates? Just get all the billionaires on there. Just because he makes the Tesla doesn't mean he's any cooler or any more charitable or any more deserving of being on SNL. And just look, I love these cast members. I think they're great, but also, and I like you a lot, John, too. But SNL is not the greatest barometer for society generally. And it is a giant corporation, and Lorne Michaels is still at the helm. And it's generally been out of touch for a while now. And even though John likes it, it's fairly middle of the road, and they sometimes have been accused of stealing, just straight up ripping people's jokes and tweets and things like that.
That I didn't know. Yes, no, I get it. Although I do think some, like 80 Bryant is very funny, and not just on SNL. Her show Shrill is very funny. She's a very funny person. But I agree. I blame Lorne Michaels. I think he made the terrible decision that the cast hated to have Donald Trump on. It seems like the cast doesn't like this. We'll have one more reaction in a second. I think it is insane that we live in a world. And maybe I'm getting too invested, but that's sort of my whole thing is getting invested in stuff. A world where Elon Musk hosts SNL before Kristen Bell hosts SNL. That's madness, okay? Like
Kristen Bell's never hosted
Ana de
SNL.
Armas. There's so many people. No, I don't think that she has. There's so many funny people that are so deserving of it. Screw you, Lorne Michaels. Anyway, another reaction from one of the newest cast members, who is great. So Bowen Yang responded on Instagram to Elon Musk's tweet. Let's find out just how live Saturday Night Live really is with an evil face, because he's being funny and jokey. And Bowen Yang just responded, what the F does this even mean? And he's so right. And I really hope, so when I recently was rewatching some older SNL, and I got to the one with Donald Trump, which I hadn't seen when it first aired. I didn't watch SNL there. And they have some really cringy attempts to make him more human that he doesn't play ball with, and it's just awful. He's not funny. But on Weekend Update, they had some pretty brutal jokes about Donald Trump. And I am just hoping that they do the same thing here, that Bowen Yang gets to come in and joke about him, that Colin Jost and Michael Che or whatever have some good attacks against him, because that's what he deserves. Elon Musk sucks. He is a massive waste of resources and talent. I don't care that he made the Model S. That's not enough considering all that you were given. And apparently you know how to hire engineers, but most of it's been wasted. The weird things where like he said the coronavirus panic is dumb in March of last year. Yeah, you're really, really smart. You're the smartest man in the world. You should be on SNL because you're so smart. He eventually said, my guess is that the panic will cause more harm than the virus if that hasn't happened already. We're gonna have to do a fact check if panic killed 600,000 people last year. But that's just sort of like baseless speculation, but he's a numbers man. So when he tweeted, based on current trends, probably close to 0 new cases in US too by end of April, he said on March 19th. Yeah, kind of a bad read and against all of what all of the experts were actually saying. And then as you alluded to, when he randomly called one of the men who rescued kids who were trapped in that tunnel, that underground tunnel, he called him pedo guy. That is both not funny at all and incredibly weird and really makes me think about you as a person, Elon Musk. He's the worst. And so I just hate something, even as something as you say, maybe middle of the road or whatever. He's the worst, and I hate that something I get some enjoyment out of is going to employ the talent of people like Cecily Strong and Kate McKinnon to make him seem 1% cooler for a brief period. What a waste.
Just agreed. You know what happens when you get born on an emerald mine? Not good things. Elon Musk is the worst parts of Trump and Kanye, plus like, I don't know, some like weird Lex Luthor-y. He's like a Michael Scott billionaire is what he is. Yeah. And that's forever Michael Scott billionaire, forever try hard. And yeah, Teslas are exploding. I know we should move on to more important stuff, but
there's nothing more important.
There isn't, according to John Iadarola.
And you know what you made me think about? Yeah, they're gonna have Bezos. And Bezos is gonna come out to do his monologue, and the joke is gonna be that he drank too much water beforehand and he's antsy and needs to go to the bathroom.
But they'll skewer him. They'll skewer him. They'll put it in like a House committee hearing or whatever on privacy, and they'll make fun of him, and then it'll be fine. And I think that that's a certain level of normalization of these goons that I don't want to participate in.
Yeah. I just looked and realized we've been talking about this for more than 15 minutes. It just really bothers me because it is SNL, but it's not just SNL. It is everybody. If they have enough resources, if they're in with the right people, their reputations can be laundered. I think if I'm wrong, I really apologize. I think it was Jimmy Kimmel that had George W. Bush on his show. And like, it's all like, yeah, George W. No. He's the worst too, in a different way than Elon Musk. But God, there's so many good people that get no cred, no recognition, no money, no anything. But then the people have just been handed literal piles of emeralds. It's like, let's try to make them look cool for a bit. Ugh. Anyway, we're gonna stop this. We're gonna move on to viewer comments and then turn to something substantively more important. Yes, but anyway. First of all, Starry Eyed Dragon said in the super chat, Dragon Daddy, if you hit 4,000 likes, will you keep D-Block? It's always amazing. If you want D-Block, hit the thumbs up. That is a good point. I know a lot of people want to see the D-Block, but I'm looking right now and, oh no, we already passed 1,000, but I'm gonna raise it. I'm gonna say 2,000. If we don't hit the 2,000, we're not doing the D-Block. Anyway, okay. So let's see, Tina says, Muppet Baby Ben Shapiro is the type of Bama that would go to Best Buy just to buy a soda, yes, and then put it in a tiny bag. Okay, John Mulhall says, good news vegans, Guinness is now a vegan beer. Wow. I didn't know that it wasn't vegan before. What were they putting in it? Anyway, but thank you. Sinners and Saints Ceramic Designs, how's it going? Says, celebrating my second quarantine B-Day and so excited that it falls on a fantastic Monday. Much love to all the Dragon fam and thank you TDR for keeping me sane the last year. Almost 40, here I come. Happy birthday. Esteban Rubio says, told myself I would give a super chat when I got my first shot and I have, so I love you guys and all the great work that both of you do each day. Thank you, Esteban, glad that you're getting vaccinated. It's gonna become less trendy to do so soon, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. Dango Bengal says, personal request, no spider related stuff, please. Uh-oh, I think we've got an arachnophobe in the audience. Well, we rarely talk about spiders, so I think you'll be okay. Sinful Solution says, just another Franny Monday. I like you too, John. Thanks.
Just another Franny Monday. Oh, sorry, I think I've done that before, but thank you for the reminder.
You need to do the full song. Chris Missal says, Bill Gates is kind of cool. Not so fast, Chris. Hold on for the rest of the show. Okay, Randy says, Francesca, I love the conversation you had with Anna yesterday. A progressive in Florida's legislature gives me hope. Anna is awesome. That's great.
Thank you for watching. She is.
She is. And okay, Bart says in the Twitch section, Bart, I wonder if Lorne Michaels of SNL will pay the same amount of money to Elon Musk when he tried to reunite the Beatles for $3,000 on April 26, 1976. Hopefully that amount will not be adjusted for the rate of inflation. I don't know, but it couldn't be a Bart message about SNL without a reference to both a music group and the 70s. Thank you, Bart. Anywho, okay, so Chloe Gamboa reached 9 months of Twitch subscribership. Thank you for that. Alresu hit 7 months. Thank you, Alresu. Late Bloomer hit 10 months. So late bloomer, but is now getting up there in the months. Barkley says, my roommate is an engineer on Tesla's autopilot team, and he knows how much he's doing a good job depending on how many memes Elon sends to the team. Targeted Scapegoat says, Elon had a prominent guest spot on Rick and Morty as Elon Tusk that was quite good. Given others wrote for him, but they will on SNL also. Maybe we should save judgment until we see how much it sucks. That is a very reasonable thing to say, and no, I will not. I might evaluate my opinion like afterward, but no, I hate it already. I hate it so much. I hate it more since your message, actually. Anyway, with that, let's jump into incredibly serious news. Oh, and thank you, Anthony Phillips, for becoming a member. Appreciate that. Okay. Joe Biden has, in a certain sense, made history and also kept a promise, a particular sort of promise that has become very in vogue for presidents to not actually keep once they become president. So what is this about? Well, on Saturday, he became the first US president to officially recognize the massacre of Armenians under the Ottoman Empire as a genocide. In a statement marking the 106th anniversary of the massacre's start, Biden wrote, quote, each year on this day, we remember the lives of all those who died in the Ottoman era Armenian genocide and recommit ourselves to preventing such an atrocity from ever again occurring. He is, as I alluded to, the first American president in decades to announce that view while in office, after predecessors including Barack Obama and George W. Bush walked back promises for fear of angering a NATO ally. The Turkish president Erdogan has furiously opposed declarations recognizing the Armenian genocide, which could have major ramifications for US-Turkey relations. And in fact, as of this morning, Erdogan has threatened, Francesca, that in response, he will recognize the American genocide of indigenous Americans. No, Erdogan, don't acknowledge the truth. Like, yeah, we should all recognize that. We should talk more about that. But anyway, we've got more history here for you. Francesca, what do you think about Biden actually coming through?
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard the news, I think I was surprised, not because he had done it, but because no other American president had recognized a genocide that claimed the lives of millions of Armenians. And that just goes to show my own ignorance on the issue and the fact that the Armenian community, especially the Armenian American community, has been sort of speaking very loudly about this and with due reason, and feeling like ignored and feeling that this genocide was just all in their heads, right? So it's all imagined. And I think that is the power of state narratives and oppression, especially of ethnic minorities, right? I mean, there are obviously similar issues happening today in Turkey. And so, when it comes to the Kurdish community as well, which is, squarely been putting the United States on the spot because of the ways that the Kurds very much helped the United States when it came to like fighting ISIS, among many other ventures in Iraq and Afghanistan. No matter what you think of them, the Kurdish community was very much supportive of the United States, and the United States, in large part especially under Trump, kind of hung them out to dry. So I think it's good. Look, I think that anytime the United States puts daylight between itself and honestly, arguably an authoritarian regime, that is a win. So I'm glad that he did it.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, first of all, I don't think that Biden doesn't believe that America conducted a genocide here. But just in case, sure, I would say come out today and talk about it actually, and talk about, sort of the lingering harm and all of that. Do that, get out in front of, take Erdogan up on his threat. We should acknowledge reality in all things. That should be consistent across everything. Turkey's government had two potential worlds. One in which they acknowledged this horrendous thing that in the past the government had done. The other in which we know that it happened, whether they acknowledge it or not, except in addition, they seem really pathetic in their unwillingness to accept it. And it seems like they're trying to do a little bit more harm on top. Insult to the injury of the genocide, that not only did it happen, and it definitely did, but we're not even going to acknowledge it. Those are the two worlds. They chose the worst one. And it's weird because Erdogan didn't do it. He wasn't around. That's right. 106 years ago. It doesn't mean that you did it, but it's really personally pathetic for you to not be willing to acknowledge it. And I understand if they acknowledge it, then they might have to do something. Wouldn't that be horrendous to have to right historic wrongs? That did definitely happen. But there's nothing more pathetic than a person being unwilling to acknowledge reality. We're seeing it all over in things as casually as, the anti-vaxxers and QAnon and all that stuff. And then there's these historic ones. So when he says, the foreign ministry responds saying that it doesn't have a scholarly or legal basis. No, it does. It does. You don't like it, but there's no doubt that it happened, okay? That it was absolutely horrendous, that 1.5 million Americans died during it. That is very well established beyond any reasonable scientific doubt. You're trying to throw doubt on it, but that doubt is not scientific.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, it really speaks to the lunacy that is state power sometimes, and including the United States. I think that absolutely Biden should come out and start talking about, the genocide of Native Americans, and we should be constantly talking about it. But the reason I say lunacy is because it speaks to the idea that if you acknowledge past harms, like so many, whether it's in Turkey or the United States, are reticent to do, that if you acknowledge that you did something wrong, if you acknowledge that there was genocide, your entire identity will crumble. And that's BS. That is plain BS. And then the identity of a nation, the identity of a state is forever evolving. It is based on different on events that happen. The identity of this country post-COVID is different than the identity pre-COVID. I hope it's for the better, because oh my God, what a mirror this entire experience has been up to our faces. But this is the thing, and this is what conservatives, no matter where they live, no matter where they are constantly afraid that if they admit past wrongs, suddenly their identities dissolve. And that is not true unless your identity is so wrapped up in, let's be real, ethnic superiority and supremacy that then we've got a real problem. Then that's not a good look. So again, just like really understanding, like none of this makes us who we are. Like acknowledging the Armenian genocide does not make Turkey what it is. Sweeping it under the rug doesn't make it what it is. It's in the service of more democracy. It's in the service of like minority voices finally feeling seen and recognized.
Yeah, exactly. In particular there, and in our own case, we've been fighting this, like as we've alluded to, with mostly American conservatives, but not just American conservatives, not being willing to actually acknowledge the things that have done in our own history. I remember I've referenced this before. I'll do it again, but Al Franken, in one of his books, it was in one of the forwards, I think. It was an argument about people loving America. And conservatives love to say that they love America and that the left doesn't love America. And so we can have our own thoughts about whether America as a concept is something that you should be investing your emotions in. But anyway, many do. And he said it's not that the left doesn't, well, I think he probably meant like centrist libs at that point, but he was pitching his left. Not that they don't love America, it's that there's different ways of loving. And the analogy he gave was lots of people love their mom, for instance, but there's different ways that you can do that. If your mom has serious issues, you might love her while acknowledging those issues and trying to help her. If she's a raging alcoholic or was abusive or something like that, you might try to help her. You might love her too, but you love her while acknowledging the full extent of who she is as a person. Or you can stick your fingers in your ears and say, no, none of that exists. Don't say that about my mommy. She doesn't have any problems. That's just happy juice she drinks. You could do that, and you could love her in that way. but it's a dumb, childish kind of love. It's not better in any way. I think arguably it's worse. So anyway, you can do that with a country too. Look into it. Okay, you know what? We've got sort of a related story, so let's jump into this. I want to thank the former senator for really teeing this up for us. Rick Santorum, former senator and I believe now contributor to CNN, was speaking at one of those young conservative things where like they've got like 3 17-year-old conservatives who are like secretly kind of 40 before their age, and it's mostly just billionaire money. Anyway, he was speaking to them and he had this to say about the unique history of American society.
You think of other countries like Italy and Greece and China and Turkey and places like that. They've all sort of changed over time. I mean, they've been there for millennia in many cases. And their culture has sort of evolved over time. But not us. We came here and created a blank slate. We birthed a nation from nothing. I mean, there's nothing here. I mean, yes, we have Native Americans, but candidly, that there isn't much Native American culture in American culture. It was born of the people who came here pursuing religious liberty to practice their faith, to live as they ought to live, and have the freedom to do so. Religious liberty. Those are the two bulwarks of America, faith and freedom.
That was bad. That was really bad. And I think I get that, and Francesca, I think you get that. I think that in the middle of those sentences, Santorum sort of got that. I think he understood what that was bad about.
There was people, but like they didn't have families. I mean, well, they had families, but they didn't have like homes. Well, they had homes, but they didn't have like community. Well, they had communities, but they weren't like wedded to the land. Well, they had land, but they didn't have. Anyway, the point is this: we're better. Like that's really, I love the way that even, and look, it's hashtag progress in the year 2021 that you can't really talk about the the settling of the United States and avoid just how genocidal it was. But I feel like when I watch that, that part of like I Love America that like gets strong when I watch Hamilton, which is probably when I've loved America the most in the last 20, maybe my entire life, was when I saw Hamilton. And then like somewhere around 12 years old when I saw like the US gymnastics team kind of like crush it. Like those two, and then
Atlanta?
maybe, I forgot which one, but like those
96.
were, a 96 gymnastics, exactly. Those were the like tent poles of my love for America. And a lot of Iraq war and Afghanistan. And this one, watching him go say this stuff makes me be like, ugh, just take it. I'll move to Italy. Ugh, I'll just go.
Yeah, and not like Italy hasn't had some issues, but yeah, that was terrible. So there's not much. What was his exact words? There's not much Native American in American society. Oh, why?
John?
Why isn't there? Rick Santorum, I think there's a lesson there. And that lesson might bear on your evaluation that what makes us unique is that we came for religious liberty and freedom and genocide. And religious liberty and freedom and all the land we want to take. Yeah, those were core parts. And the thing is, if like his whole lesson there was the like sort of Protestant ethic, the Puritans, all of that made us better because that was the foundation. But that foundation was perfectly fine with murdering everyone, which is like, yeah, there's like good and bad to everything. But like, if you're cool with mass murder, that makes me kind of question the rest of the stuff about you. Why aren't you questioning those things? What good does some sort of foundation of a ridiculous sect of Christianity, what good is that if it also allows for brutalizing and raping and murdering on a historic scale?
And it continues.
Question at all.
No, and this when you say that, even if you say, let's say he admitted that there was some genocide, a little Jenny, just a little Jenny side, like whatever. Like what if he said there was a little bit? When the right acknowledges this stuff, they put it in the past. And I think as progressives, as leftists, we need to remember that it wasn't just initial conquest. It was years and decades of false promises, of like, oh, you talk about your puritanical Christian values of not making good on the things that you did say you were going to do, on making agreements, tearing them up, on systematically undermining and killing any kind of leadership from Native communities, right? Just time and again, war after war after war after war, up until today. So that when we have like Deb Haaland as Interior Secretary, that is critical. It is important. It is important to see the Dakota Access XL pipeline and understand the way that treading on indigenous territory is once again a product of the ways that we have either assigned our history as settler colonial, powers to the past, which it should not be relegated to, or we've decided that like it doesn't matter, and so it's a living history is what I'm trying to say. And it absolutely matters. And for example, in the Green New Deal that AOC rolled out, there is a remark, there's a part of the 14 pages that, Marjorie Taylor Greene, took a week to read that says, there will be, sure. That says that there will be consultation of Native communities around, whatever green technology, whatever kinds of encroachment that there might be onto Native land. That's huge.
Yeah, that's true.
Not saying there will be encroachment. They're just saying that there will be like a discussion with Native communities about how to transition the economy, right?
Yes.
They're not like, we're gonna take the land and then ask you if it's okay. Anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's just terrible. And like, he's a bad guy. It's a really weird, awful read of history, of a selective read of history, and he gets paid for his thoughts about politics. I believe from seeing it. He was at least before. I don't know for sure, but he wouldn't be the worst person they're currently paying. Anyway, okay, we're gonna read a few more super chats, then jump into a little bit more domestic politics. First of all, Connie, thank you for your super chat, appreciate that. Dusty Jones says, got my Pfizer shot finally yesterday, and wow, it was exciting, but the feeling was crazy. I was having a passing out phase. I'm happy I got though. It's worth it. Everyone, please get the shot. It's important. I agree, and we'll be talking about vaccination and COVID in just a little bit. Grant Stanfield says, John, how much do you love your new place? Do you have room for a pig and an Aussie Shepherd now? Also, is Brett helpful tilling the land with you? Yes, we successfully figured out the level situation. There was a brief mistake along the way that made me think I was insane for about 20 minutes, but it's too much to go into, but thank you for asking. No Aussie yet. Anyway, Dango Bengal says, reminder, Musk got most of his wealth during the apartheid and comes from a family that owns emerald mines that have bad labor conditions. Well, tell that to the reporters who wrote up glossy things about how he built his empire from nothing. Just had a couple of emerald mines. Anyway, okay, Franklin Sharpslicer says, well, it took over 100 years to decide to recognize the Armenian Genocide. Imagine if it took that for some to accept that the earth is not flat. John Francesca, you rock. Well, I mean, it has. There's some people who, yeah. Anyway, but thank you. I appreciate that.
Has any president acknowledged that the earth is round?
Formally, I don't know.
Biden could be a first. Who cares about student debt? The earth is round.
It's so funny that the weird, like at one point in the extended comments, Rick Santorum was like, there's some countries that have changed over centuries, millennia. And I just thought like, he probably had an impulse to be like, but not like too many millennia, only about 5, because there's only been that many. Like there's just so many people that believe such crazy things.
Yep.
Anyway, Louis Belmont says, I got my first dose of the Moderna vaccine. I'm furious at Uber for canceling on me 4 times. That I did what I wasn't supposed to do, and that was take the bus back to my workplace. That's really annoying about the Uber thing. Sorry about that. Glad you got vaccinated though. Lamine Davis says the Elon Musk cameo on Rick and Morty was actually awful. I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but thank you. James says, Frantifa super soldier in training. If you ain't progressive, you ain't, and he put a little emoji. You can figure it in, or you can figure it out. Mobilize the vote, defend the corporatocracy, defund the corporatocracy. Thank you, James. I appreciate that.
Yes.
And finally, Time Traveler says, any thoughts or news about India from the TYT perspective? So yes, we've actually talked last week. We talked about the situation with India and COVID 2 times. We're going to be talking about them in just a little bit, actually. So stay tuned. And I wanted to thank Tell Me What to Put for gifting a tier 1 sub. Thank you very much. Mother effing woman dragon gifted 1 as well. The chicken fried dragon gifted 2. That is very funny. I don't think I've seen that name before. Sean Burby gifted 1 too. Thank you for that. The chicken fried dragon has subscribed for 10 months. Thank you. Uralino for 5 and says you can't buy funny. I mean, I guess he can have writers, but I really doubt he's got the delivery, I would say. I think he's gonna come off looking terrible. And that is Schadenfreude that I am looking forward to. Okay, now with that, let's jump into our next story. It hasn't taken that many months of the Biden presidency for the narrative to become pretty clear. Biden supposedly has things he wants to accomplish, and Joe Manchin is mostly gonna tank those things. But Joe Manchin doesn't accept that label. Here he is being talked about this with, I believe it's Dana Bash. Let's take a look.
Senator, I talk to Democrats who tell me the reason President Biden's ambitious agenda is so big and so bold is because they understand history. And history shows that the president's party, if they have majorities in Congress, as he does, oftentimes lose that in the midterm elections. And that's why they have a small window to get things done they believe is possible. So they believe that you're one of the main roadblocks on getting those goals accomplished. How do you respond to that?
I'm not a roadblock at all. The best politics is good government. I can't believe that people believe that if you just do it my way, and that'll give us the momentum to get through the next election. But when you do something that everyone tags on to, and I've seen good things happen, the people voted against it, took credit for it when they went back home. We won't give this system a chance to work. I am not going to be part of blowing up this Senate of ours, or basically this democracy of ours, or the republic that we have. If we have a 51 vote threshold in the Senate, the same as the House wasn't designed to be partisan. The House was designed to be hot as a firecracker. We were designed to cool it off. And that's the founding fathers. It was a brilliant strategy they looked at. So why can't we try to make this work? If you have the violent swings every time you have a party change, then we will have no consistency whatsoever.
Okay, Francesca, is he lying or is he the dumbest man in America?
I've been thinking about Joe Manchin more than I ever wanted to for a very long time now. And I talked to Emma Vigeland about it, and she was saying that it's all a branding exercise. It's about his ego. It's about this. I'm no longer convinced that it's about his ego or it's about a branding exercise for him. I think it is purely there is someone behind him, multiple people, multiple corporations pulling the strings. He is there in Congress, in the Senate, to drag his feet. That is all he's there to do. We don't know all of the dark money groups that contribute to him. We can imagine it's major fossil fuel companies. But look, he does not care about West Virginians. He does not care about their vote. I'm sure most West Virginians want $15 an hour as a minimum wage raise. I think that would be huge for them. They've got crazy, Dana Bash in that interview talks about the child poverty in that country. He knows that Republicans are bad faith actors. He knows that if he drags his heels, it'll swing back to Republicans. And the guy is, again, trotting out this line of, oh, we're so polarized. Homie, have you not been paying attention to the last 4 years? What do you think Trump was? The result of 8 years of blocking any kind of progress under Obama, and then turning around and nominating the id of America, right? Like, I think the cat's out of the bag on the "are we polarized" line.
Yeah, and we need to cool down. We need to let the system work, because he just woke up a minute ago before that interview, and he has no prior experience with which to evaluate if we've had enough time for the system to work. No, he's lying there. I largely agree with you. It's just for the donors. Because if it was about his ego, he'd want to stay in the majority so he can get things done. His strategy will lead to him being in the minority, so it can't be that. And look, for virtually every politician, when they speak, they're either lying or they're stupid. And so we have to evaluate which it is. And I'm sorry, you would have to be too stupid to believe what he said. It isn't possible. So the other one has to be it. He has to be lying. I'm sure he's dumb. Most politicians are dumb. I'm sure he's dumb, but he's not that dumb. He's heard the counterpoint to every stupid lie that he told in that too many times. He is lying. Yeah, no, I get it. It is both. But what is the causal factor here? It's lying. The reasons he's giving, he does not believe. I know that we're supposed to pretend.
Yes.
He's as Cenk says, the fine gentleman from his state or whatever. And Dana Bash, who's being a little bit aggressive there, still at the end of the day has to pretend that he's a serious figure. He's a diplomat. The Senate's full of respect. Nope, he's a liar. He's a liar who's trying to protect wealthy people. That's all it is. That's all it is. And he's also kind of dumb, but mostly liar.
Yes, he's been asked this same question, John, a million times, backwards and forwards. And every time he's like searching his brain to think about how else he can say the exact same lie over and over again. That's why he comes off as stupid, because again, you're not that stupid if you keep on repeating this same lie. At no point does it dawn on him. No, he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that he has to pretend bipartisanship still exists because he's afraid that actually a Biden infrastructure plan will hurt the donors that he's relying on. Because he's not relying on the people of West Virginia and their concerns. He's not relying on small dollar donations in an incredibly unequal state where the coal miners union, as Anna and I covered last week, like have come out and been like, no, we need a transition to green jobs. We want that because coal is done, it's gone. Help our communities. He doesn't represent them. He represents his donors. Exactly right.
Yeah, and it's not even necessarily he doesn't in some world want what's in the infrastructure bill, but he doesn't want what's in the infrastructure bill if getting it means that you have to raise taxes on corporations and the wealthy. Like, I don't know how much more clear he could make this. He has come out this year against raising those taxes and for not raising the minimum wage nearly as much as others want to. So are we supposed to endlessly speculate about whose side he's on?
Right.
He's screaming it at us.
Yes.
And so that's what he's there for. We just need bipartisanship. No, we know what the people actually think about these things. And we know that the Republican votes are not reflective of what they believe. They, like you, are protecting their interests. Bipartisanship does not exist when we are able to get some Republican senators to give a middle finger to their donors for once and do what 90% of the population wants. The bipartisanship is already there. It's blocked by corrupt politicians, and you're one of them. That is the whole story here. Anyway, so no change to the filibuster, no use of reconciliation, just let the system work. No big infrastructure bill, no minimum wage increase, but he is not an obstacle to Biden's agenda. For that to be true, Biden has to be as big of a liar as Joe Manchin, and that is still a possibility. Maybe he doesn't want that stuff any more than Joe Manchin does. Okay, with that, why don't we roll into our next topic? The pandemic still exists, and this is your daily reminder that it still exists and that you should get vaccinated if you haven't already, because we are going to check in with how things are going out there across America. Some good news, some bad news. So first of all, cases in the last 2 weeks are down on average daily about 16%. Which is good news. Tests are still a little bit lower than they used to be, but still fairly high, close to a million tests a day. Hospitalizations have ticked up, deaths slightly down. So we seem to be once again moving in the right direction after a bit of backsliding, which is good news. But bear in mind that the new thing we need to wonder about is how much vaccination is happening per day. And the pace has actually slowed. Country has averaged fewer than 3 million shots a day over the last week, down from a peak of more than 3.3 million. So it's about 10% down. Probably not super surprising, consider that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine was pulled for the last few weeks. But Francesca, that's currently what it looks like. What do you think about the state of things out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is really good, but it is also it is not okay that the vaccinations are slowing down, and it speaks to the ways that the rollout could be more robust in terms of actually going to people, in terms of folks helping others to sign up for a slot for the vaccine, because it's not easy. You do have to do it online. It isn't straightforward. And also people are dubious and people are also busy. There are many folks who are working. And you know, if you sort of don't want to do something, which you all should get vaccinated, but if you sort of don't want to do something, you put it off, you procrastinate, you're like, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it another time. But if there's a van outside, like an official van, not like a weird white one.
Why did you say
if there's a van outside with a guy going, hey, psst,
I got a needle.
I got a needle over here. Psst. You know, you might get in that van and get vaccinated. What I'm saying is there's gotta be more outreach. And I think that makes it, anything that makes it easier. Hell, if it's a Krispy Kreme donut, so be it. But just make it easier and make it more appetizing for people to get vaccinated.
Yes, the van thing has a few issues, but yeah, like if there were literally trucks of hot and fresh Krispy Kremes,
vans, trucks, come on, John,
vaccines going through in alleys, I would go in there. I would not ask any questions, and I'd leave my phone behind. Anyway, yes, so I agree. We do need to do what we can to break through people's vaccine hesitancy. Unfortunately, we've done the opposite. I predicted a few weeks back that when they paused the J&J vaccine, okay, I get it. That's the responsible thing to do. There've been a couple of cases, 1 in a million of these blood clots. That's serious. You need to look into it. My fear though was there might be no coming back from that. That even once it's evaluated as being safe, people are still not gonna trust it. Most of my predictions are dog crap. They're not true. I'm an idiot. But in this case, it wasn't that tough. So the good news, CDC panel a couple of days ago recommended that the US resume use of the J&J COVID vaccine, saying the benefits outweigh the risks and will save many lives. That's the good news. The bad news is I was right for once. Fewer than half of Americans see the Johnson & Johnson vaccine as safe now, compared with more than 7 in 10 for Pfizer and Moderna. Barely more than a fifth of those not yet vaccinated would be willing to take the J&J vaccine. So the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which has the noted benefits of only requiring one use, of being easier to transport and store. So for many populations, including in remote and rural areas, a lot easier to get it to people. That the opinion of it now has been destroyed, and very few of the people we need to get to take a vaccine are going to take it. And that is really unfortunate, even if they needed to be responsible about it and all that.
A rebrand, dude. Like Big Pharma is so good at rebrands. Just put like a little baby on it. I don't know, Johnson & Johnson, are they good on baby powder? I don't know. Come up with something else. Put your little PR monkeys on the case and you know.
JJ's Wonder Fluid.
Yeah, JJ's Wonder Fluid.
Vans.
JJ's Wonder Fluid. I lasted all night with JJ's Wonder Fluid. I'm sorry. Why not?
No. Anyway, yeah. So and it is
sell it like on this in a truck stop, you know, like the little gas stations.
By the register. Anyway, here's some more information about the hesitancy though. A quarter of unvaccinated adults say the halt in its distribution made them less inclined to get vaccinated. By the way, not to get less vaccinated with it necessarily, with vaccinated at all. Like they're less likely to take Moderna because they paused on J&J. And so that's half the people who are likely and half who are unlikely to get the shot. So it reinforced for some that this is not for me, and some who were likely to get it were now like, I don't trust any of this, unfortunately. And by the way, nearly 1 in 4 Americans, 24%, are disinclined to get any of the vaccines, down from 32% 3 months ago. 16% rule out entirely. So maybe a little bit of progress in that area. All it took was like every celebrity in the world telling them to do it, and some Krispy Kremes. And we've got a little bit of progress, but still about 1 in 4 say they're not gonna do it. So For us to reach what is generally agreed upon as herd immunity, 1 in 4 of those are likely gonna end up getting the virus. Many of them probably have already had it, let's keep it real, but that's the current state of things and it doesn't look great.
No, I mean, there's still so much we don't know also. I just think we have to keep on like weighing everything, talking about everything openly, like when do we get a booster shot after the vaccine and all that. But yeah, I think one good thing, John, and maybe this accounts for the reason that like more people are inclined to get it overall, even if the reluctance around J&J has increased, is that, folks aren't turning into superheroes, sadly. I, again, want to be rogue and I want the little white strip, although I definitely have some white and I'm working on it. But
you need to collect them.
I just need them all in one place. I wish I would just gray right here. And I really want if the J&J vaccine could just give me that little white skunk stripe and I could turn into Rogue from X-Men, look, perfect selling point. Let's rebrand it. But anyway, all to say that like as more folks get it and they do not experience lasting side effects, they are fine. I think that is and they're out, hanging out, eating at restaurants, drinking, being with friends and family. That is all you need to convince folks to do it.
Yeah. And final one number, just throw out there for you because I want to make sure that you have an idea when you go out about your day, how safe are we in terms of vaccination? As of right now, 29% of America is fully vaccinated, 42% have had at least 1 dose. So it's still less than 1 in 3 that are done, less than half that have had any. We're doing really well, we're doing it fast, but it's still not like, it's not good times are back again or whatever. Like we're still in the process, so bear that in mind. Now, note to the director, if we could skip ahead to that nice world map, we're gonna jump in right there. So we've been talking about what has been coined academically as the vaccine apartheid. The fact that some countries like the US have ready, easy, free access to a variety of different coronavirus vaccines, but some countries, including the ones that are the current sites of the most coronavirus, massive skyrocketing cases and deaths in places like India and Brazil, don't have access to it. And so there is a way that could be solved that we've been talking about, trying to encourage President Biden to free up the patents on the vaccines, make the materials necessary available so that these countries can start to produce it domestically and save some of their population. As of right now, though, that is not what Biden is doing, and other countries around the globe also not so supportive of getting rid of those patents. So Bloomberg has put together a great world map of where countries stand on that. So let's take a look at this, and you'll see that the yellow countries are countries that support waiving patent protection. Purple countries oppose it, and the blue ones are undecided. So,
oh come on, Canada, you
what's up with Canada?
Weak. Well, this NAFTA union, I mean, yeah, come on. Oh, they're just scared. They don't want to oppose the United States, obviously.
Perhaps. But so what you see there is Japan, Europe, Australia, America, and for some reason Brazil. No. First of all, Brazil, you could really use it, but no, you're not getting it. And weirdly, the ones who are saying you shouldn't get it are the ones that already have it. And then you have all these countries that are like decimated by COVID that for some reason think they should be able to create the medicine that we all get. It's there, we could let them make it, and lots of people could not die. They weirdly want access to it. I don't understand this map. I don't get it at all. This is a map of racist evil. That's all it is. A bunch of countries, generally white countries, saying to the non-white world, you guys can suffer and die until we make sufficient bank. And they've made tons of it, billions and billions in profits for Pfizer and all those companies. But no, you don't get it until we make enough money. And it's not just the patents. I saw literal news I saw during this show. India requested an export ban on raw materials needed to make COVID-19 vaccines, and the US has denied that request. Oh yes, no, we see that you'd like this material, something stopping your people from dying. No, we're not interested in that. This is America first. They may not say it. Biden's not gonna use that term, but the idea is no, until every single person in America that wants the vaccine gets it, you guys can sit and die. And the ridiculous thing is our people don't even want to take it. It's like you can freely walk in many states and just get it right now, no appointment, because so few people actually care to take it. In India, they desperately need it, and we are doing everything we can to stop them from getting it.
Absolutely. And I think more than America first, it's corporate power first, right? It's big pharma first. And I think that it is important for us to put pressure on the Biden administration. And it's also important for us to understand how much is the Biden administration in control right now? Or have we handed so much control over to big pharma, even though a lot of what they use to develop it are federal funds, are public funds, so and taxpayer money. So let's talk about that. But like, I am curious who's actually pulling the shots and pulling the strings. And it's just so funny that the anti-vax hesitancy is like, you get it because it's like they're against big power and all the shady characters pulling the strings and and it's like, I hear you on that, but also science, and that part's real. Like, so can we agree that there are shady figures, but that science is also real? What's going on here? But like, it's definitely sad. And I think the other thing, I've said this multiple times on the show, but it bears repeating, that these are not countries without their own laboratories, without their own biochemists, without their own facilities, right? You imagine whatever you think, if you haven't traveled that much, know that it's probably wrong, that India, that Argentina, that all of these like countries, that China have incredible facilities. And if they had access to the actual code, if they were able to access and be able to produce this vaccine, they absolutely could. And I know we're gonna talk about Bill Gates, and man.
Yep. Bill Gates is a billionaire that gets a lot of cred for a good amount, like obviously a lot of charitable work and all that. That said, this guy who had magazine articles about his plan to save the world on the very wrong side of history when it comes to the vaccine. He was asked during an interview with Sky News if he thought it would be helpful to have vaccine recipes be shared with other countries, and he said no. Asked to explain why, Gates, whose massive fortune as founder of Microsoft relies largely on intellectual property laws that turned his software innovations into tens of billions of dollars in personal wealth, said, quote, well, there's only so many vaccine factories in the world, and people are very serious about the safety of vaccines. And so moving something that has never been done, moving a vaccine, say, from a J&J factory into a factory in India, it's novel. It's only because of our grants and expertise that can happen at all. But no, he doesn't want it to happen. The thing that's holding things back in terms of the global vaccine rollout, he says, is not intellectual property. It's not like there's some idle vaccine factory with regulatory approval that makes magically safe vaccines. You've got to do the trial on these things. Every manufacturing process needs to be looked at in a very careful way. That is not only wrong, that is like the lie he's telling is a fundamentally racist one, that these countries just can't be trusted to do it. That they just, come on, this is complicated beakers and stuff. They don't know how to do that. Yeah, they couldn't make generic versions of medicine in India. That's not a thing that already happens on a wide scale. It's so supremacist. Oh, we're the only ones. What do you mean there's no idle vaccine factories? Well, look, technically there's not an idle vaccine factory, maybe in that they don't even have the recipe yet to spool up a vaccine factory because we're blocking it, which you support. You have to do the trials, the regulatory trials. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to do that when you don't have the vaccine to test. They need the recipe so they can start to make it so they can test it to see if it's safe. Do you get how this is working? But he pretends that all of the stuff he's saying that directly benefits financial interests here in the United States makes all the sense in the world.
Did you know, John, though, that like only Internet Explorer will give you accurate results if you search for COVID and coronavirus? It's true.
Yeah.
Only Internet Explorer can do that because it's other search engine and other browsers, they just don't give you that. It can't be Safari, it's gotta be IE. It's very complicated. You wouldn't understand. No, but seriously, how did we think a man who made his billions monopolizing bullying and muscling out competition was going to behave when it came to a vaccine. And therein lies what I think so many have pointed to, which is that billionaires can't be trusted and we need to tax the hell out of them. And we need to stop congratulating them for the philanthropic work they're doing. Clearly, Gates has been handed this opportunity to show just how philanthropic he is, and he's winning when it comes to certain people, but he's absolutely showing his hand that he cares about power. He does not care about actually providing care to people, to the world. He wants all roads to go through him, and that is the behavior of a megalomaniacal billionaire. Hey, funny how money does that.
Yeah, the weird thing though is that considering that the vaccine is chock full of his nanoprobes, it's weird that he doesn't want it spread all over the world.
Right?
Is it possible that this is a psyop? That Bill Gates, standing against vaccine distribution, is supposed to make the right wingers like it? Probably not. The only thing I don't know for sure, but the only thing I know is that we've got to get this guy on SNL. Anyway, there's a reference for you.
Book him. There you go.
Anyway.
Tying it all together.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is regrettably and unfortunately the only time that we have for the show, because we got to go film our top 10 list. Francesca and I do it every week. It's for our tier 2 and tier 3 members on YouTube. Feel free to become one. You'll have access to not only this one, but a full playlist of a ton of great ones, including our top 10 favorite comedians from last week. Today it is our top 10 problematic faves. So we're gonna get in some trouble. So feel free to tune in for that. We did the D block, Unjustifiable. It happened. We did the E block too. Anyway, I did want to let you know before we go though, two things. The first is that in about 8 minutes at twitch.tv/TYT, you can join Dr. Rashad, who's going to be doing Indisputable. Awesome guy, awesome show. Love having him on. We don't have him on this week, but you know where you can see him? You do, you're looking at it. Indisputable at twitch.tv/TYT. You can join Rashad Rich, he's gonna be awesome. That said, the one other thing you need to know about, Francesca, tell them about your show.
Oh, you're the sweetest. The Bitchuation Room podcast. It streams live every Sunday, 5/8 Eastern. You can watch it at Franny Fio on my YouTube channel or listen as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And John Iadarola, I think you've heard of him, is going to be on our Mother's Day show on May 9th. So don't miss it.
Awesome. Okay, everybody, thank you. We will see you very soon. But until then, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.